Yes, we are live. Welcome back, my dear friends. This is episode number 109 on Zero Point Healing Show. And today I have with me an amazing guest and we are going to talk about access consciousness and how we can use the beautiful tools of access consciousness to overcome our manifesting blocks. So, manifestation is the topic of today. I'm so excited to have this conversation with my beautiful guest. But before I move on to her, just a short intro about myself. I'm Vishnupriya, and I would like to say, a holistic healing practitioner. I am certified in multiple different holistic healing modalities. But at this current time, it's access consciousness that I had been using for all my clients. I love access consciousness, and I feel at this time in my life, that's what I am aligning myself with. Anyways, with regards to zeropointhealing.com, it is a web directory that I created for all holistic healing practitioners, all holistic healing modalities. There is about 60 plus holistic healing modalities that is registered on zeropointhealing.com at this time. So the inspiration itself maybe came to me through my own journey where I was getting certified in so many different modalities in a very short amount of time, actually. And it was like, I wonder how beautiful it would be to see all modalities in one platform under one umbrella, and how nice it would be to have all practitioners across the board in one umbrella as well, so it can serve as this beautiful tool in and itself, where somebody can go in and search for, okay, maybe somebody wants help with anxiety, or maybe wants help with fertility issues or with finance issues, regardless of what the kind of challenges that someone is facing. He or she can come into this directory, search for all different modalities and practitioners who can help with that particular challenge that they are facing. So it was from that kind of questions the whole zeropointhealing.com took its birth, so to speak. So that's my intro to zeropointhealing.com. If you are a holistic healing practitioner yourself, I would love to invite you to zeropointhealing.com. You can register. And if you're interested in this kind of interview with me, you can let me know about that. Also, if you are a client or a person who's looking for solutions, then this beautiful, magical website could be a contribution to you, where you can use it to find your practitioner, facilitator, therapist who would be able to help you. All right, so that's my short introduction speech. And here I now move on to my beautiful guest. Welcome, Christine. Thank you so much for coming to my show. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I see you are certified in so many different modalities as well. So tell us your beautiful journey into this holistic healing world.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here today. So my journey started, I actually was lucky enough to have a mother who's a Reiki master and certified reflexologist and spiritualist. So it was a natural introduction through just being with her and visiting a spiritualist church. I was brought up Catholic, so it was quite different, but we had both in our house, so it was a way to kind of introduce me at a really young age into different ideas and to work with access consciousness words, what else is possible. So my mother brought that in, and it was really beautiful because I was able to see from a younger age that there was something else, and I didn't quite understand it. And sometimes it kind of scared me, if I'm honest, because it was so different than what I was used to. But it opened me up to get curious, to get curious about how our mind works and spirituality. And when I was looking for university, I decided to study psychology. So I studied psychology, I got my BA in psychology, and I always loved like how our minds work and was so curious around it, but didn't necessarily want to get into psychology in the traditional ways. So I ended up working in the government. I'm actually still there working part-time. And what I know is that every part of our journey is always, it's so interesting when you can look back, in hindsight, that it's so important that every part of it is part of our journey. And studying psychology opened me up even more to, okay, so this is our mind. And then now what else was spirituality and other healing modalities? So I started studying Reiki. I studied hot stone therapy in Toronto with an amazing teacher, and essential oils and all sorts of self-healing on my own personal journey, and eventually found Access Consciousness. And that was about 8 years ago. So Access Consciousness for me at first was really weird. I didn't, and still I have moments, I was very analytical and open. I don't know if you were as well when you found Access.
Absolutely. And Access Consciousness was especially, the first 5 class where we would go and sit with Access bars, and then the foundation class. I did all other modalities first, and then I went to Access Consciousness. It was the kind of last modality so far that I learned. And I was like, what's this all about? Because it's totally different, very unique compared to other modalities. And I'm like, do I need to take this on? What is this? Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I wasn't alone. That's definitely it's definitely something that I just, and still at moments my mind can't always understand in an intellectual way, like that analytical side that wants to understand everything. But it works. And it was the most I've ever seen in terms of success or results compared to other modalities for myself. And I would go to meditation class and I would come home and I would be frustrated because real life would happen. I have a child and a husband and animals, and I would come into my house and it would be real life. And I remember my husband saying, he's like, so that didn't work very well. Like, you just went to meditation class. Like, how's it working for you? And I thought, he's right, like he's right. So there was something that was missing from, taking a session here and there or learning a class, different modalities, that I didn't have the tools when I left a session to use, which is what I love about Access, because Access, you can get your bars run. So I'll just share like a quick, a little bit about Access Consciousness, is that it's not just one part. So the hands-on Access Consciousness bars or energetic body processes, the facelift that I do, that's one part, which I love because there's 32 points in the head, hands, and feet for Access Consciousness that help to remove limiting points of view and blocks and that sort of thing. That's a physical experience. You come in, you get a session, that's one. What I loved about Access was that when I started using the tools, it took me a while, and I'm still always working with the tools of verbal processing. So asking questions, not coming to conclusion. That was the biggest shift for me beyond the modality of an energetic experience of, changing your frequency, vibration of the hands-on. Because then for the other hours in the week and day, days to come of not having a hands-on session, I had these tools. And I remember, the phrase of like, Access Consciousness empowers you to know, like really know. And they didn't, like Access Consciousness didn't prescribe like, you have to follow this, like trust your knowing. And I would teach, now I'm a teacher because I love it so much. But at the time taking classes, it was so wonderful because you could take it and see what fits and works for you within the parameters. So that's the part that I really love, that kind of just really shifted things in my life about 8 years ago. And when I started using them more and more and asking the questions and doing clearings, things started to shift and change, like dramatically.
And now, when you put it that way, I think I usually never get words to explain access consciousness or even compare that with other modalities. But the way you said it was really amazing. When I finish, let's say I go for a healing session, finish, and come back, I'm still judging myself, for example, or I'm in the anger mode with my family, or something happens and I go back into it. And then I think, oh, I just finished a healing session. Where did all of that thing go? Or meditation similarly, you just finish off the meditation, get up, and then you go into the world and you bump into another thing that you get angry for. And I'm like, what's happening? I did 60 sessions of healing and nothing is changing with regards to living my life. But yes, now when I think back, access consciousness is, I feel, changes the way we live our lives by giving us the tools. When I am maybe washing my dishes and thinking about, oh, no clients are showing up for my whatever. There is a tool that I can immediately use even if I'm washing my dishes, and I'm like, what else is possible, right? How does it get any better than this? All of those questions or the tools, and I can also do the clearing, right? Okay, everything in me that is stopping me from manifesting clients, I destroy and uncreate, and there we go. So it's like, you don't have to sit and do something, rather in the fly, in the go, you can keep using the tools that changes the way we live our lives. Beautiful, and thank you for putting it in that way. So let's continue now on to our topic, which is how to overcome manifesting blocks to kind of using the tools. So please now talk to us on that topic.
So first, I would say I absolutely like the body processes are amazing. Like they're so helpful in that way. It's a big part of the journey for myself was, doing the body processes. I was lucky enough to go to Vermont. I'm from Canada, so I went to Vermont back in the day when travel was possible, more ease and grace around that. And I went for a 3-day body process, and it was so phenomenal just having all of that work in a very condensed amount of time. But again, the tools of when you come back to real life, everyday life, of using all those tools. So the energy for manifesting around limitations and blocks, something opened up for me on that trip. Something, I was alone at the end of the 3 days. I was at the hotel. I was sitting in the hot tub, and it was such a beautiful night. It was so quiet. I think it must have been a Sunday evening, something like that. So no one was at the hotel. And I remember doing what we talk about in Access Consciousness is working with energy, working with the energy and energy flow. And I was so in that zone. I was almost like my body was vibrating for 3 days of body access. If you ever get a chance, it's amazing. 3-day body class. But I was sitting there alone, and I remember going, this is what I desire. And it wasn't that I desired moving to Vermont, having a hot tub, although that would be lovely, or any of that. It was the energy of where I was in that moment, like just total bliss. I was, just sitting there, so content. And nothing had changed in my world physically. I hadn't manifested anything different. I didn't own the hotel. I didn't, like nothing changed in terms of manifestation. But I got the energy of what Access Consciousness is so amazing to share, is being the energy. So that's what I would say was my first breakthrough in manifesting blocks, was starting to be the energy. And having this concept that I didn't have to own the hotel. I didn't have to own the hot tub. I didn't have to own the trees, or, only be in Vermont to experience that. I just confirmed to myself, I'm like, this or something better. And this is the energy I want to bring into my life. And fast forward, I don't know if it must have been a year later. I was fortunate enough to buy a home that has a pool in the backyard. And I remember seeing the backyard and going, the trees, it was that feeling again. And it wasn't that I put on my vision board. I did put a picture on a vision board, if you're familiar with vision boards. I had a picture of a pool, and I had a picture of trees, but I let go of the attachment to it. It didn't have to show up a certain way. And so being open to ask consciousness, like, okay, what would it take to create that vibrational bliss of being in Vermont? I'll have that. Like, that's what I desire. And so my limiting point of view was that I couldn't own a pool in our neighborhood because it was too expensive. And my husband would be like, be realistic. That's crazy. We'd go look at homes for sale, and they would be like twice the price of what our budget was. And I'm like, I'm just dreaming. Like, let's just go look. And so what ended up happening was a house came on the market in our price range with exactly what I desired in terms of a pool and a backyard, smaller home, but it brought me that vibrational feeling. So I let go of the judgment of how it was going to show up. I used my tools of asking the questions, what would it take to recreate that Vermont feeling where I wasn't just doing a 3-day body class for the rest of my life, which would be amazing. I have children, I have, maybe one day, but still, there's other things you want to do in the world. So asking what else is possible? What would it take to create that? And that has been the biggest vibrational shift for manifesting and breaking those blocks in what I want to create in my life, is to go to the vibration of this is the desire, like this contentment. And it had nothing to do with like a dollar amount. I mean, I can do the same thing now. I can be at the beach. I could be going for a walk, and I can bring that awareness of appreciation of nature, of gratitude, and I don't have to own everything, if that makes sense.
Wow, very much. As you were telling it, I was so on this New Year day, I actually went for some, outing, and for the restaurant, we, found something on the Google, Maps, and then we went there with no expectation. I was just thinking about a small restaurant, and it was like a hilly place, but we ended up reaching to this luxurious, I do not know, 5-star, 7-star, some kind of a resort, inside which there was the first floor in which there was a restaurant. And I went, ooh, what is that? I never expected that. And I literally wanted to, run back. And I'm like, from the limiting point of view, that they are going to charge me for all of that if I go sit and eat there. But then my husband was like, no, we came here, we might have to drive 5 more miles to the next restaurant, let's go there. And I actually went there, and it was very similar energy that you were talking about, right? That kind of trees and the luxuriousness of that resort and the hotel and the people who were there, all of them were like, I'm sure, very rich, so to speak. But I went there and I sat there. I put my barriers down and I was like doing energy pulls and receiving that energy. And I was asking myself, okay, what would it take for this energy to be the energy of this year, the 2021? So, very similar, close to your experience there, I would say. And I can completely relate to where you're coming from. So, moving on to the next tool or next tip that you might have for overcoming manifesting blocks.
Well, I think you just touched on it there. I think it's so important. It's like we almost stop ourselves. We almost stop ourselves to be like, we can't afford that, or who am I, or maybe I'm not dressed enough, or whatever the thoughts, right? And we almost can't receive it all. So that's what I would say is like the next is learning how to drop your barriers, which to me just means just being open, just being open to opportunities that show up and learning to really receive it with an open heart. I tend to be a giver. I like to give. So receiving was really hard for me. It's like I wanted to be independent. I wanted to be the one to give. And life happened where I had to learn to start receiving. And that experience of really just receiving from nature was so beautiful because it's like it cracked me wide open. And the same trip, which is interesting, you're talking about the restaurant, I had another experience, and working with a 3-day body class, it's a lot of tools like, what does your body desire? What do you really desire? And it's about choice. So the tool of choosing in 10-second increments from Access Consciousness, I love, because it's like, I can choose this today. I can choose this in the moment, and very childlike, right? Kids are like that. One day they love peas, and then the next minute they're like, I don't like it anymore. I'm done. So we can choose, and we can use the tools. So to destroy and uncreate, and I'll talk a little bit, the clearing statement is I found it was so weird and crazy. And even when I say it, sometimes I'm teaching, people are like, what are you saying? So you can check out theclearingstatement.com. It explains it all. But for me, it was just to clear the energy around it. So my guilt around money, my guilt or shame around food and different things. I was at a restaurant on that trip. And again, I was by myself, so total choice. It was just me that could choose. And at the restaurant, I didn't like, they had fish tacos. I love fish tacos. I didn't like these ones. They were like, I think it must have been rare tuna, something, not my choice. My body didn't like it. I didn't want it. And I had a realization there was nothing on the menu I desired. So the waitress came back. I barely touched my food. And she said, "Oh, was everything okay?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, I'm not that hungry. It wasn't really to my taste. And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry about that." I said, "No, no, no." I said, it's me. It's my choice." And so instead of forcing myself to eat the food because I was going to pay for it, it wasn't inexpensive from my point of view. So I had options. I could force myself to eat it and then feel sick or not good or happy. I could complain and say I want my money back, but that didn't feel right either because I was like, this chef made a beautiful meal. I just don't like it. It's just my point of view, my preference. And then the third option was like just to pay and leave. And I was like, and I'm okay with that. But it came with asking questions. What would I do if I had all the money in the world? Would I force myself to eat this? I was like, no, I'd get up and leave. I was like, okay. You know, am I going to change or shift anything by eating this? No. So when people say, like there are starving people in Africa and you shouldn't waste things and that sort of thing, I was like, well, me eating this and forcing myself is not going to change anything in the world. Like, let's be real. But next time I may ask more questions. Like, is this now I check the menu. Is this fish taco? Is it like rare tuna? Like what is this? Is it, how does it come? And I ask more questions now because I have information. But it was a really good experience to learn, what does my body require? What do I desire? And same thing around manifesting and blocks. We can block ourselves because our point of view would be like, I have to eat it. I ordered it. I'm wasting money. So I could make myself sick or waste money or choose just not to believe that anymore. And I was like, well, what if I wasn't wasting money? What if I just was not hungry for this food? And so that was a really big breakthrough too. Like, how much do we choose because of these old programs or what people say? Some people can say, that certain judgments are really from their point of view and perspective. And when we align and agree with them on such a subconscious level, it really can get in there. And I've had other people eat from my plate because they're like, I don't want you to waste your food. And now I just ask questions. I'm like, are you hungry? Please eat this. Like, I'm done. And they're like, no, I'm not hungry. I just don't want you to waste it. I was like, oh, interesting. I don't judge. It's just an awareness. And I'm just thankful I'm not in that space anymore where I don't really feel like I can choose for me, where before I would have forced myself to eat that because I paid good money for it. So the tool around manifesting is starting to ask yourself really good questions. And then the hard part for me was to actually let the universe show me, to truly access consciousness in a response.
Wow, those are amazing examples that you provided there. I was like, wow, that's amazing. So now let's move on to the short exercise that you have for us.
Okay, so I wanted to have a way that you can experience this with us and around manifesting any kind of blocks or limitations. So first, getting really clear in asking questions, what do you really desire? A good question I like to ask myself, do I need to own everything? So I love horses. My daughter loves horses. And I had this point of view as a mom, like I would need to buy her a horse, get it boarded, get her, like do all these things. And instead of doing all of that, I start to ask her questions. I'm like, do you want to own a horse? She's like, no, mommy, I just want lessons. I was like, okay. So ask yourself questions. Do you need to own everything? Is your desire coming from a place where it's like success, you need this car to prove you're successful, or you just want to experience driving, I don't know, Corvette or Porsche or whatever? Could you rent one? Do you need to own it? And getting really curious and asking yourself these questions. So right now I want you just to kind of close your eyes, and we'll do an experience of what I call, or access consciousness is working with energy pulls. So just take a moment, connect to your breath, and bring your energy, your focus to the core of the earth. And imagine pulling the energy, whatever energy means to you, a vibration, a color, a sensation. For me, I notice a tingling in my feet right away. So pulling the energy all the way up to the bottom of your feet, through the back of your calves, to your lower back, along your spine, through to your heart, towards your throat, between your eyebrows, the top of your head. And now bringing the energy up towards the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, and beyond. And connect here to your infinite being, your infinite self. This is all about accessing consciousness. And if you have a question, you can ask, what would it take? Since we're in January and it's all about manifesting our dreams, our desires, what would it take to have more of this energy we're talking about? Abundance, health, joy, luxury, nourishing our heart and souls. And expand your energy a little wider beyond all four corners of the space you're in right now. For me, it would be across the provinces, territories. So across your country, around the world, expand, reconnecting to your infinite being, your infinite self. And when you're ready, bringing that energy down to your heart and trickling the energy out to each other around the world. Relaxing your body. Feels a little better now. When you're ready, I want you to pull energy. You can use the example of my story of sitting in the hot tub or being in the restaurant, pulling in luxury. Whatever you desire, start bringing that energy to you, in front of you. So that feeling of joy, of happiness. You can even imagine a beautiful golden orb in front of you, an energetic ball, and pulling all of that energy to you. And even all around you in a 360-degree energetic. You can bring it through your body if that feels good and light. If it feels too fast energetically, just slow it down. If you like quicker energy, pull it to you. So pulling, if that's your desire, of more joy, bliss, communing with nature, being outside, enjoying luxury, good health, the abundance to eat food that you love and nourish your body and simply choose without limitations, without judgment, choosing in 10-second increments and asking the universe what else is possible? What would it take to bring this to you, for your highest and best, pulling the energy in so that you can access consciousness and letting go of anywhere that you come to conclusion. You can destroy and uncreate that. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, and beyond times a gazillion. You can bring the energy into your heart if you wish. I like to bow to the divine within and each other. Namaste. Thank you. When you're ready, open your eyes. So just a quick little energy pull. I do that quite frequently every day.
Wow, that was amazing. And I really love energy pulls. It feels like, just few minutes, but energetically it feels like huge shift from, energy that we were prior to energy pulls versus, after the energy pulls. It feels so expanded and so much more in our fields. Wow, that is amazing. So, can you now quickly tell us a bit about the kind of services that you're offering? I see there is so much more than access consciousness. So, tell us a quick summary of all the services that you offer to your clients.
Sure, thank you. So I call myself a bliss architect, life coach, energy healer, and yoga teacher because that kind of is a sum of everything. So I love coaching one-on-one with people. I also have workshops often in groups because I find that the energy in a group is so fantastic. We all are contributions. So, while I might be mentoring or teaching, I'm also a student. So we're constantly, building in that. So I do offer that. And then I do one-on-one sessions when possible. I'm in Canada, so you can look me up if you want to and actually experience access consciousness or a few other modalities that I do. So I do intuitive healing sessions. I also work with oracle cards. So having a clarity session, I call it coffee and clarity. So we can sit, we can have a coffee. Right now I'm doing a lot over Zoom and just virtual sessions for now, and but I do have in person when it's possible, and I love doing that. I love doing it all. I work with crystals, essential oils, and basically it's really just about frequency and empowering people to know what they know and finding that out. I'm claircognizant, which means like I have that strong knowing, and I didn't realize the gifts that I had because it was a knowing, and now that is a superpower for me. So I love teaching and sharing that with others, whether it's mentoring, a one-on-one session, but just to empower you that you know what you know, and we all have a unique gift in the world, and I believe we need more of that. So I love doing that.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, my dear viewers. If you would love to book a class or a session with Christine, you can click on the link below or above, depending on where you're watching this video, and you can have a chat with her to see what kind of service would be best fit for you. As well as there is a 10% off discount coupon code for you just for watching this beautiful interview with us today. So the coupon code is 0 Point. So when you contact her, just let her know that you found her from 0 Point and she'll give you that 10% off. Thank you, Christine. It was a beautiful conversation. I really, really loved it and connected so much with your experiences as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So, my dear viewers, I'm going to see you in my next show. Hope you enjoyed that. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can subscribe to the channel as well as share this video with anybody whom you feel that this video would be a contribution for them. So, thank you so much for your support. I'm going to see you in my next show. Bye bye. Thank you, Christine.